Hello and welcome to my first video. This is going to be just a brief overview of the syllabuses for both 1051 and 1068 for this summer section. So, the syllabi are already available on your respective course websites on Canvas, and you're adults, so I expect you to be able to read them. I've even created bullet points for you guys for the important bits. But I just want to go over the important things that are most relevant for you, so we can just jump into class, and also so that if you come in later in the semester, you'll be able to refer to them. So first and foremost, you got to be registered for this class in order to take it. That's just school policy. I normally don't have an issue with people sitting in on my class, but if you sit on it, in order to sit in on it, you actually have to be registered for this. All right. Another thing is that that these are 4-hour courses. That means that 8 to 12 hours of work that means that 8 to 12 hours of work each week would be considered appropriate in a normal 14-week semester. And you've got about 8 or 10 weeks, depending on how we cut it. So there will be quite a bit of work. Programming is hard, but only because it's hard in the same way that music is hard, or woodworking is hard, or picking up any other craft is hard. It requires practice, it requires time, it requires effort, it requires energy, it requires those things that you don't want to hear, which is that it requires hard work. It's not that, smarts might carry you some of the way, but it's hard work that will really make the difference here. Now, to mitigate this factor, because of course you're here in Tokyo, and at least the Americans will probably want to use this as or the study abroad Americans would want to use this as a nice vacation. To mitigate some of the time that we're going to spend working on stuff, I'm going to be trying to do as much active learning as possible and as much flipping of the lectures as possible. A flipped lecture is a type of active learning. Active learning means that you're going to be doing a lot of stuff in class to learn. Okay? So flipped lecture means that I'm actually going to reverse the typical homework lecture times. Normally you do your homeworks at home and you learn stuff at lecture. This is kind of inefficient though, because if you have questions, you can ask them during lectures, but most of the questions during programming, you aren't going to encounter them until you're doing homework, right? So we flip that around. You watch the lectures and read some stuff while you're outside of class, and then you come to class and you work on stuff. This is what we're ideally going to do. I'm going to post videos each week. I'm going to try to record my videos on Wednesday, and a bit on Tuesday and Thursday if I can manage to do that. That way you can, and I'll upload them, and you watch your lectures before you come to class. Hopefully I can cut these videos down into 15 minutes each so that you can watch each video as a kind of atomic unit, because 15 minutes is about the nice attention span that most people have, and before we start getting real diminishing returns for learning. So we can kind of break everything up into chunks and learn them, learn what we need to do. So when you come to class, you'll be expected to work on essentially your homework, your labs instead. So you'll be doing a lot of work inside class. This means you will probably need a laptop. You'll need one you can rely on, not necessarily a good one, a reliable one. And come and speak to me as soon as possible if you need a laptop that you can rely on. It's probably not going to be as expensive as you think. We can probably the most expensive I think would cap out around $500, so about 50,000 yen. So that's probably the most expensive we'd have to go, and you can get away with a lot less. But I don't know what the computers on campus here have, so we'll have to see. But you'll want your own laptop to be able to work on. That being said, we're also going to do a lot of paired programming, which essentially means we're going to be working. You're going to be two people working on the same computer, working with each other, teaching each other how to do things. This is generally a very good approach for stuff. So yes, there's going to be a lot of work here, but you're going to be doing it. But a lot of that work might also be in the lectures as well. So your textbooks, school's expensive, and I recognize that. And I think I succeeded in getting well below the $100 benchmark that we use for textbooks by going for textbooks that are available for free online. For each class, I've got, I think, 2 textbooks. For the Python course, I've got Al Sweigart's Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. Click on it here. So he's got it on the website with interactive code blocks that you can use. But I recommend buying a hard copy of the book. You can get it from Amazon, no problem. And that shouldn't set you back more than $20-30. There's also an electronic version of it, so you can buy your own official PDF that you can use keep on your phone or your e-reader or your laptop, whatever. The other one is Think Python, how to think like a computer scientist. And I'm going to try to see if I can't get that set up on an interactive website. So that has some interactive questions that you can fill out and stuff. I'm going to look into that. We're going to see how useful that's going to be. But you can read that here. For the 1068, right, that's an evening class. Yeah, these are 3-hour blocks. I've done 2.5-hour classes before. I've got ways to make these as not be a huge drag. Let's see. I'll be using Think Java, how to think like a computer scientist for Java, and I've got a second book as a reference in case you need to read something else. The only thing that's not mentioned in either of these books that I might use are some turtle graphics, which we'll get into. We'll burn that bridge when we get into it. All right. That's pretty much the only things that are specific to those courses. The other 2 things that are important are office hours, grading, and how you get credit for your assignments. And the last one is the most important thing of all. So how do you get credit for your assignments? Well, you don't just turn them in. You actually have to show them to me. Right, so let's see. You need to show me your work to actually get a grade, right? You submit it, and this is how I'll know it's on time. But to actually get a grade, you have to show it to me, show me that it works. This is a couple reasons. First, I'll ask you some questions about your code to make sure you can answer them, right? This is kind of just a primitive plagiarism check, right? It's okay to every so often to have to look something up online, but if you copy paste in work and you don't understand it, well, that's bad because you don't know what you might be copying pasting, and it might blow up your computer. I'm kind of exaggerating there slightly, but you got to understand what code you're working with. You need to show me your work to actually get a grade. So that's one thing. How is grading done? Grading is roughly broken up into these categories. So I actually give a lot of weight to assignments. So assignments essentially are things with a long time limit of, about a week. But because we're in the summer semester, they're just going to come piled on. So you got to actually jump on them and start working them as soon as possible, right? And I mean that because you will work on something, you will find a stupid error, and you will bang your head against it for 3 hours. I'll come and look at it, and I'll fix it in about 5 minutes. Or possibly 5 seconds, because I've made that error about 5,000 times, and you've made it once. I've made that error 5,000 times, so I've fixed it 5,000 times. You haven't fixed it yet. So you haven't had the chance to fix it yet. So you don't know how to fix it. And figuring out the first time is the hardest thing. It's learning by trial and error, and it's mainly error, and it's not fun. But that being said, the other way to get around that is to get a good night's sleep. You'd be surprised how often a good night's sleep fixes your ability to see errors. So jump on those assignments as soon as you can. Participation in grading, participation quizzes, that's about 15% of your grade. Those are expect some like short exercises in class. So these will be like short exercises in class plus small quizzes, like 2 questions or something. These things are all essentially going to be on paper. Why paper? Because paper is quick. So paper or via a phone or something. Why a phone or paper? It's easy to grade for me. If it's on paper as opposed to if you submit a file for code, and I'd have to open it up, download it, run it to make sure it works. And also I can ignore minor syntax errors when you're kind of doing it on paper. It's quick, and you're also going to be expected to be able to actually physically write code on paper in your life, believe it or not. It's just a way to be able to quickly communicate with people when you're just brainstorming. Okay. Otherwise, everything else is kind of straightforward here. Um, read through this. So, and last thing is office hours. I've got an office. They tell me it's on the 5th floor of Mita. I might have to double check to make sure that's correct. But on Wednesday, I'm holding my office hours right now between 1 and 3, or 1300 to 1500 for both classes. Let me know. I will let you know if this changes. This is tentative right now. But the important thing is that this is office hours for no appointment. There's no appointment needed for this time. This means that for my office hours, you can just walk in and I will just drop whatever I'm working on to help you. That's what my office hours mean. Okay. Otherwise, I can pretty much meet you on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday by appointment, so long as I'm not in a class. So this time you need no appointment. Other times, please send me an appointment. I can even make it. I know that some of you have a bit of a long haul to campus, so I can even arrange to do video chat with you if you need to. Save you a trip. Save me a trip to campus if I need to. Okay, so that's that for both the syllabuses. So thank you. I hope to see you in class.